Your alternative talk radio contact. The Planet. KGRAradio.com.
With infinite complacency, people went to and fro over the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or design, man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space.
Welcome to another episode of Into the Fray, leering at you from the woodline. Visit the mothership at intothefrayradio.com. There you can find all the episodes, the blog posts, ITF gear, and sign up for the free guest newsletter. The weekly show is, of course, always free and available in all podcatchers, but if you'd like to support the show, and why wouldn't you, go to the website and click Become an Insider, which in turn gets you extra content each and every month. And by the way, if you would be so kind as to leave a rating and review in your listening platform of choice, Cosmic Karma shall be yours. Be part of the discussion by joining the interactive ITF Facebook group, follow on Twitter at ITF_radio, and Instagram. If you have an experience that you'd like to share, email Shannon at intothefrayradio.com. Thanks so much for listening. Now, if you would be so kind, buckle up your safety belts. Put that tray table in the upright position. Liftoff is upon us.
Well, welcome back to the show. Thank you for doing this again.
I'm trying to not be as nervous as last time, but it might take a few minutes again.
No, that's okay. Not that you sounded nervous that first time anyhow. What episode was that? I thought just as I was dialing out, I was like, I probably should have looked up what episode her first one was.
I don't know. It was a while ago, though.
Yeah. I think it was, the heck did I even title it? Oh, I'm so bad. I will have it in show notes, everybody. I will link it in show notes. So anyway. So this time around, though, we're here to talk about something very different. This time around, we're here to talk about Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Sasquattle in Washington State, which if I was a Sasquatch, I think that's where I would be. I'm just saying, I certainly wouldn't be down in Florida with all the damn skeeters and the humidity.
Oh, too hot.
Yeah, those poor things. No wonder they're pissy. I would be in Washington.
Yeah, exactly.
So this takes place in Suquamish, Washington. And if people are not familiar with Suquamish, I do it every time. So Suquamish is located more west of North Seattle than just Seattle, right? But it's across Puget Sound.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful place. Like I said, I used to live in the area of Seattle and Kent. And I would go visit like Bainbridge. You know, you do the whole ferry thing, and that was so fun.
Bainbridge is part of North Kitsap, so.
Yeah. I think that Bainbridge is the, I forget the name of the ferry. I suppose it would or wouldn't be Walla Walla. I can't remember.
This is the Bainbridge ferry.
Is it? Okay. Yeah. I don't know where the Walla Walla one, if that just goes to that particular area, but.
I think they use those just for both routes. For Bainbridge and the Bremerton now,
So pretty there. There's nowhere like it. Yeah. There's a reason property values are quite high in certain locations, and that would be why.
Especially here.
And nothing but views and greenery. So, So this I know is part of a report which you sent to me. Thank you from bfro.net, and it was submitted in 2006. But it happened in 1995. We're going to jump into it, but...
When it first started, yeah.
Yeah. If anybody wants to go read that, it is report number 16295 on bfro.net. And you know how they have their classifications, and everyone, you'll be happy to know it's a Class A sighting. So there you go. Be excited. Yeah. Jennifer's like, I could have told you it was Class A. So you are 8 years old in 1995. And I know that you guys had a little bit of land and you didn't have a lot of neighbors. And
at the time, yeah.
Yeah. And on this particular day, you were sent outside to do a little cleaning up, to pick some things up by your mom, right? So if you don't mind just jumping in here, and this is your first sighting.
Yes. So I was picking up cans from the front yard, bringing to the backyard in these bags. I had pretty much finished. I was on the last bag, and I was facing the house. Our yard was connected to the wood line, and so my back was facing the woods, and I was about to turn around, and I heard something really big running behind me. And I turned around. I was expecting I was going to see like a big deer or something, and I saw black, and just as I was watching, I saw something running on two legs, and it had arms and hands, and when it noticed me, it just stopped, and it put its hands to its sides, like it just went like motionless. Kind of like, to me, it seemed like it was trying to act like it was a tree or something, like, but there was no trees around it. It was just grass, and the trees were kind of further away from it, so I don't know what it was thinking.
Right.
Like, it was obviously, like, how am I going to miss it? And it was only probably like 15, 20 feet away from me. And so I had, like, dark brown, blackish hair. Didn't have hair on the face. I can only see down to a little past it, probably, like, it's around its knees or so. I could see its hands. It didn't have hair on its hands. On the report, I put that I couldn't remember the color of the skin. But when I think of the memory, I see it as with black skin, so I'm not sure. I think I got confused because there's another one I saw close up that I'm 100% positive had a tannish skin color.
Okay.
But yeah, so it was just standing there, and it would look at me, and then it would shift its eyes like left to right, kind of like thinking like, what should I do? And I was just staring at it for the longest time because I couldn't figure out what I was looking at. I knew it wasn't a bear because I've seen bears. Spent a lot of time in the woods with my grandparents and stuff, and I've seen bears before. I just knew it looked like a person with a lot of hair, and I wasn't scared because it didn't act like it was threatening. And the face, it might be kind of weird. It looked cute to me. Like, it kind of looked like cuddly, kind of. And like it had a baby face. Like, it looked young. And I was just staring at it, thinking, what am I looking at? And after a while, I just, like, Bigfoot popped in my head because my mom would listen to Art Bell and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, once I figured out what it was, then I got freaked out. And then I ran off, and I kind of hid in the house for a couple of minutes, and then I got the courage to look out my bedroom window, see if it was still there, and it was gone. But so that's what happened then, the first time I saw one.
That's really interesting with the face. You say it had a baby face. I've never heard anybody kind of say it like that. What other features?
Well, it wasn't that tall, so I think it was like a young one.
Yeah, you said it was around 6'5", you said, right?
6-ish probably, yeah.
What other features from the face? What does its nose look like, and its lips, its eyes?
That's hard for me. The lips were thinner than like a regular person. But honestly, more than anything, what I remember are the eyes, because I was just watching the eyes shift. I hear a lot of people say that they don't see whites in the eyes, but I remember there being whites in this one's eyes, and it had black pupils. But they're like larger pupils than like a regular human, I guess. So that might be why people, because it was shifting its eyes, so maybe that's why I saw whites in the eyeballs. I don't know.
Yeah, you were a lot closer than I thought you were. 15 to 20 feet.
Oh, yeah, I was very close.
That was really close. So you weren't that scared until you realized from
until I
good
realized,
old Art Bell,
something
like,
that's not supposed to exist.
Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my gosh, I gotta get out of here. But, and the fur was, I don't know, it wasn't that, it was covering everything, but it wasn't that long, like. And I hear a lot of people say that they have really long arms that seem not very proportionate, but this one, it seemed very proportionate to me. I don't know.
So they didn't hang down as long as you've heard in other reports, to where it was noticeable.
Yeah, it seemed very proportionate to me. Yeah.
The fact that, and we were kind of giggling over Messenger about this, but you sent it along another report, which I will link both yours and this one, which I'm going to read once we're done chatting about your stuff, but it's another report where the Bigfoot did the exact same thing, and it's what we're going to call the oh shit moment, where it kind of goes, oh crap, a human saw me. I'm just going to like plaster my arms against my body and be completely still.
Like, what do they think of us? Like, how can they think that we don't see them? Like,
yeah, especially when you're like, dude, there's no trees anywhere near you. You don't look like a tree, buddy. How still was he? I mean, you know, we can stand still, but was it like a weird still? Okay.
Yeah, like the only thing that was moving was its eyes, just shifting its eyes. Like, well, I don't know what to do.
Was he keeping his fingers just loose, or they weren't in fists or anything like that, right?
It's like he had his hands to his side, like pressed up to his side, like he was like as tight as he could, like straight up. Like,
still don't look like a tree, buddy.
Yeah, no, there's no tree, sir.
So there was zero hair on the fingers.
Well, like on the outside, like probably to like mid hand on the outside, there's no more hair. Like you could see on the back of the fingers, it didn't have hair. And on the inside of the palms, like you couldn't see all of it, but like I could see on the inside there was no hair.
This may seem like a weird question, but did you see his fingernails?
Yeah.
Were they like like gorilla fingernails, or did they look like ours but dirty? I'm just curious. It's a weird question, but
I didn't really pay attention to that, but I can answer that question for the other one I saw close when we get to that later. Because I did see the toe on that one.
Oh wow!
And it was dirty, yes.
Yeah, because I mean, they live out in the bush all the time, and
yeah.
I mean, I've heard a report of one swimming in the Puget Sound when someone saw it off of one of the ferries that we were talking about. So I know they do swim,
like out in the middle of like deep water.
Just out in the sound,
that's
just
scary.
Out right. That's what I said. I was like, that is messed up. There's something real messed up about a swimming Sasquatch. I don't know why, because I know that we swim, but there's just something. It ain't right. It just ain't right.
Well, that would make sense though. Like if they migrate to different areas, that would make more sense.
Yeah.
For them to go looking out for food if they could swim long distances. Like,
you can imagine just out on the ferry and just they're out there just doing the breaststroke. You're like, God, come on. I bet they're great swimmers.
Yeah, because I always hope, like, if I'm here in Bremerton hiking or something, I always hope, like, I'm not going to see a Sasquatch here because we're kind of in the city or whatever. But
right.
I guess I could swim from Bainbridge Island if because it's not that far.
Yeah, if you get one kind of moving locations there, can you imagine seeing one just dripping wet, like you just got out of you're like, oh goodness.
You're like, okay, bye.
Yeah, I'm checking out now. Just going to go sit in a padded room for a little while. So I know that you weren't scared at first, but then when you realized what it was, you ran back to the house. You looked for him immediately after, which was a smart move. You're like, let me find the window I can see this guy from, and he was gone. But
my bedroom window, you could look out in the woods. So.
Oh, okay. So that leads perfectly to where I was going is how did that affect you? How did that affect your everyday now that you know that they're out there?
Well, I still, at first I didn't really want to think about it too much because I didn't think that one would go up to the house. But we can just go to the next sighting if you want. Kind of answers.
Yeah, that would be great.
Question. So we were part of a housing group, and sometime after my first sighting, the second housing group finished up, and I made friends with the neighbors. This girl and her brother, and I was at her house, which is on the other side of the street, and there's woods on both sides. And at the time, they didn't have a fence or anything either. And so we were playing hide and seek, and I would go in their parents' room, the person that was it would go in the parents' room and count, and then go back in their room, and the light would be off, and we'd try to find each other in there. And so it was my turn to be it, and I knelt down to do the counting, and I saw movement in the window. And so I looked, and like this thing, oh my gosh, it was covering the whole freaking window. Like this thing was humongous. And it must have like just started turning its head when it saw me go in, because I just saw like the side of the head and the shoulder. And it was weird because it was turning like really slow. Like it didn't want to go like from the window, because I guess maybe it thought like somebody would look at it leaving like in the window or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. So it was just turning like it was going to go in between windows, but I'm assuming that's what it was doing. But it was just like really slow, and I could see the fur just going against the screen slowly. And it had like twigs and stuff in the fur, like it was kind of matted. So I'm assuming this one was like a full-grown one because of the size and everything. And I was just kneeling there staring at it thinking, holy freaking crap, these things look in your windows. And so then after that, then I was really scared about stuff looking in my windows. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we would hear things like walking around outside at night, like by the windows. And sometime after that, I don't know when, but I do remember seeing one in my window late at night, and that freaked me out.
So one at your friend's house in the window, and then you also had one at your own house in the window.
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
And my mom saw one in her window before, and she said it took up the whole window, too. And she just slumped down and put her covers over her head, and she was like, I can't deal with this.
You know what I noticed about, I guess maybe being from here, it stood out to me. But when I moved to that area, I don't know what it is, and I don't know if it's still like this. Maybe it's different across that side of the Puget Sound. I don't know, but let me run this by you. When I was in the Seattle area, people don't close their blinds. Some people don't have blinds or curtains, or it was the weirdest thing to me, because here we all shut the blinds. I'm like, I don't need people looking in when I'm doing, whatever, just normal stuff. It seems strange, but nobody would shut their blinds if they had them for whatever reason. I don't even know why they have them. They wouldn't shut them. So, and you guys being out in the sticks, maybe, did you guys even have curtains at night, or did you get some after all that was going on?
Well, I didn't have very good ones. That's why that one time I did see one in my window, and after that I would just never look anymore. But my mom did have curtains too, but that night for whatever reason she just didn't shut them yet.
Bet she did.
So I don't know, that. But yeah, it's pretty.
And I know this is probably going to be really hard to answer, but do you know how tall up you guys' windows were? Oh,
yeah, actually, when we were building the house, and my dad, he's 6 foot something, 6'2" or something like that. And you could just if he was out in the window, or by the window, you could just barely see the top of his head.
Oh. Wow.
So for something to take up the whole window, it's got to be at least 8.5 feet.
That's a big one.
tall. And it was the same for my friend's house because they were identical houses.
Okay.
So.
That's, wow.
So they had to be pretty tall to take up the whole window and pretty wide, too.
How, I know you kind of started out by saying sometime later. Do you know what the, maybe close to the time difference of that first sighting of the one you said was around 6 feet to these guys that were filling up these windows?
Oh, gosh. No, I'm not really sure. Probably 4 to 6 months later, maybe. I'm not sure, though.
Surely they don't shoot up 2 feet in a few months, but you never know. I was just wondering if maybe it was your same little buddy there.
Maybe it's the same one. I don't know.
But we don't know the growth patterns of Sasquatch since, we haven't got a specimen yet, but that's interesting. Yeah. Wow, those are big guys. I mean, if it's the same one visiting your friend's house and then you and your mom in the windows.
I do think that there was the same one that would come around, though. Do you want to keep going with different ones or keep?
Oh, yes, please.
Because several things happened living there. I lived there for like 8 years, so this was a summer night. I was staying up late playing a video game. It was really hot and not very smart move, but I had the window open in the living room. It was so hot. And in the distance, like I could hear, all of a sudden I could hear like, and I heard like, and I started hearing that accompanied by really loud footsteps. And it kept coming closer and closer, and it sounded like something really big running. And I was like, oh my gosh, please don't tell me that's a Bigfoot that's going to run by this freaking window. And it just kept coming closer and closer. And sure enough, this big, humongous one went run by the window. And after that, I was like, I'm not going to have the window open anymore, even if it's really hot. So that happened.
How far outside the window would you say he was from the house?
Oh, well, at this time, just my neighbor and me were like the only houses that didn't have fences anymore. So I think it just ran from one side of the woods and went through our yard, and it was just like a narrow little pathway that it ran. So, I mean, it was just right next to the window.
And was it being illuminated by the inside of the house lights, or?
Yeah, it didn't seem to mind that it ran by an open window with the lights on. So it was right there, right in the window.
Did he look over?
I'm just glad I didn't stop to look at. No,
okay.
I didn't, luckily.
Yeah.
I was like, please don't, please just keep going.
Yeah, I've said the same thing. I'm like, boy, if those things had looked over at me, it's a whole nother ball game. So that one was also very large.
Yes. And then I think it was the same summer, but I was playing video games again because I really like playing video games, and it was really late at night, and I heard that same grunting, and I heard something running up, but this time it went on the porch, and the sound of it going on the porch was bonk, bonk, bonk. And it was the sound that I was trying to open up the door.
The front door?
Yes. And I'm curious that I think it was the same one because
no.
I don't know, it just sounded like the same thing. And it I could hear it grunting and trying to open up the door. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing is gonna break the door open, but I didn't want it, like it freaked me out to think of it hearing my voice. So I was like waiting a few seconds, like, oh my gosh, I don't want it to hear me. But it looked like the door was going to break open at some point, and I was like, okay, I have to start yelling. So I was like, get out of here, get out of here. And it paused, like it was listening. And then I heard it run off, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Was anybody home for that one?
My mom probably was, but sleeping. And my brother, he was a teenager doing not good stuff off somewhere probably.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and my parents were divorced at that time, so my dad wasn't home with me.
So you're hollering
I was
and he
freaked out.
takes off, huh?
Yeah. Heard the dunk dunk again.
The heck was he gonna do if he got in?
I don't know.
What's
Like,
he
I'm
looking
like,
for?
what is this thing gonna do? And then, like, probably like a couple years later, I'm not really sure the time frame, I was gonna go blackberry picking with my mom. It was like evening. It was summertime too, I think. And I was gonna wait for my mom on the porch because she was still not ready to go. I opened the door, and I see on the other side of the street in somebody else's yard, in their backyard, I see one that kind of looked like the one that ran by my window.
Mm-hmm.
It was in this person's yard. I'm like, what is this thing doing? Because there was like neighbors down the street a little ways away that had like a party, and there was a whole bunch of people outside. And I guess that Sasquatch knows me, and it ran off. But I think that's the same. I think it was the same one that kept coming up. It just didn't seem to really mind about people seeing it, or I don't know what it was doing in my neighbor's yard. But and then when we started blackberry picking, a few minutes later, I heard a big snap, and I turned to look in the woods, and there's that same one, and it was looking at me and my mom. And I'm like, Mom, there's a Bigfoot. And she turned, and I turned again, and once I started looking again, I just saw like the bushes moving where it was, but I really think it was probably the same one that kept coming around, but I don't know.
So you saw it, but your mom didn't get a good look. By that time, he was gone.
Yeah.
How close was he?
Probably like 50 yards away or so. So not too far, but not terribly close. Luckily.
See, that blackberry picking, just like in Missing 411, and you saw Bigfoot while you were blackberry picking, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying, and just, you know.
Luckily, they never tried to take me.
Well, you're right. Like, this one doesn't really seem to give a crap who sees him, how close he gets. So when he was trying the front door, and you really felt like that thing was going to give way, because you felt like he was maybe, not that they would probably need to lean into a door like we would to break it down, but you really thought he was trying to get in for sure.
Yeah, because like you heard like the door going back and forth, like,
oh gosh,
you know, like it sounded like he had the doorknob, but he didn't know like to turn it, or just it's like he was just pulling it back and forth kind of thing. So like,
but the door was locked.
I say he because I feel like it was a he, but I don't
right.
know.
No, I do the same.
Yeah,
thing.
luckily the door was locked. If not, I would really freaked out.
Because then he might have accidentally turned it, you know, how he's supposed to, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's okay. I always refer to them all as he as well. There has to be some she's out there, obviously, but I do the same thing. Just like all ships are she's, right? I guess all Bigfoot are she's when we talk about them. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Guys and
Because
gals.
they're so big, I guess, probably why.
Right.
So big. And,
it's natural to call them he's.
Mm-hmm.
So the toenail thing, which one is that?
Okay, well, people probably are not even going to believe this one because it's so ironic, I guess. I would go out in the woods to, like, see if I can find them, or because I would also do, like, wood knocking and stuff, see if I can get a response. And this time I decided to go with my camera and out in the tree farm there, and I got to almost to the very end of the trail. And I heard something running, and it stopped right next to me. And sure enough, there was one stopped right next to me, and it just like went motionless, but it was like in the running position still. It just stopped, and it was only probably like a foot away from me. I'm not kidding. And I really, really wanted to take a picture. I kind of like I put my head down. And I was like, I don't want this thing to know that I'm looking at it because I don't know if it could do something to me or not. And I just kind of paused for a second. I was like, I really want to take a picture. But, you know, those cameras have the shutter noise.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, like, because it literally was close enough just to be able to reach out and grab me. So I was like, I don't know if it hears that noise, it would freak it out or not. So I was like, I'm just going to keep walking. But that would have been like the best picture ever because it was just right there.
So you're
and that's when I looked down, that's when I saw the foot and the toes. Yeah.
All right. Well, before I ask my question, go ahead and describe however much you can about the foot there and the toes.
Well, it was like the same kind of thing. Like there was hair until, like till like the ankle. So it was covering part of the foot. But you could see there's no hair on the toes. So like maybe there's like no hair like growing there, but hair from the ankle like overlaps the foot probably is what it is. And yep, it had dirty toenails. But I tried not to stay too long and really get a really good look. But I did see the face like for an instant. And that one had thin lips too.
Okay.
That one had thin lips, and it had like tannish, like light tannish looking skin. And I even kind of saw like one of the ears, kind of had like a human looking ear, but it was pretty much covered with fur. And same thing with the hands. No hands on the inside no hair on the inside of the hands. You could see the fingers. The nose was kind of like a gorilla-ish, I want to say, but it was a long time ago, so I can't be positive.
But again, mostly a human-like face.
Yeah, very, very human looking. Very human looking. And, yeah. Can't really think of anything else. That was the only other time I saw one really close, luckily.
Yeah, so you're walking down a trail.
Yeah, looking to see to take a picture, but of course, like, I could have got the best picture ever.
But before you saw him, you're heading down this trail, and
and I could hear something running. It was like in the woods, running towards the trail, like it was going to cross.
Coming from your left or from your right?
From my right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, how close was that wood line? I mean, how skinny was this trail as far as, if you put your arms out, could you touch the trees on each side, or was it bigger?
Oh no, I was on the side of it, but it was probably like 2 people lengths wide, maybe a little bit wider in the beginning, but at the end.
So not too big. So he came right up on you though, and he again.
Yeah, like he obviously didn't know I was there.
Did the oh shit moment again?
Because I was being really quiet because I didn't want. I was hoping that I would run into one, and I got what I wished for. But.
Yes, you did. But you're out there by yourself though, right?
Well, I had my dog, but she was way far ahead and distracted, smelling stuff. She wasn't very, how can I say? Most people say their dogs notice if there's something around, but she's just kind of ditzy. She was a ditzy dog.
She had other things going on, Jennifer, that's all.
Yeah.
She's like, well, my dog's not quite so protective. She's off, like, hunting for banana slugs or something.
Yep.
Oh, man.
But other than that, I was by myself, so I was like, I don't know. I really wanted to take that picture really bad, but I didn't know if that thing would grab me and, like, snap me like a twig or...
Yeah.
And this one wasn't that big either. It was kind of like the same size as the first one that I saw. It might have been the same one. I don't know.
How far from your house was this trail that you were walking?
I'm not really sure. Less than a mile.
Okay, yeah, because you walked there. I mean, you were still young, right? So you weren't driving at that time.
No, you can't really drive there. And, yeah. I would have to go... Yeah, I'd have to go through different... It would take me a while to get there, except to go through the woods and different areas to find the trailhead, because it's probably bad to say I kind of went through private property to get to the Suquamish tree farm.
Right.
But I was little. I didn't really know that how bad it was to go on somebody's private property.
We've all kind of been guilty of that at some point or another, I suppose.
Yeah.
Living
But
in areas
there is
like
a
that.
regular. I know now that there is a trailhead that you're allowed to park at to get to the tree farm, but I didn't know that then.
Was there any smell at all with any of them?
No, I've never ever had a weird smell from one. Like, I always thought that was interesting. People say that they smell really bad smell when one's by them, because I've never had that happen.
And besides that huffing sound that late summer night when he was about to run up on your house, when you were close to them, was there any other noises that these guys made?
Oh, no, like they would just like be as quiet and still as they possibly could.
Yeah. I mean, for you, having seen even these bigger guys, even, of course, not taking into account the really big one that doesn't give a crap and is always just like bouncing around as heavy as he can. Yeah, he just, he's like, no F's given, man. I'm Godzilla and I know it. I mean, is it surprising to you about how quiet and how still and stealthy they can be if they want to be? I mean, have you witnessed that and been like, oh my God, they're really quiet?
Yeah, I think it has to do with their intelligence. Like, they know for whatever reason that they want anything to do with us. I think it's just probably like their instinct or something to, because I mean, it would work like if I wasn't right next to them or whatever. If there was trees by them, I think it would work, but
yeah, not when they're the only massive, odd-looking tree in the whole area, right?
Yeah, with eyes and hands.
Yeah.
Arms.
Yeah, massive biceps and huge shoulders and just ready to pick something up. What about your mom? I mean, she saw one of these as well, and she was still okay with you going out in the woods, or was she kind of more like, oh, Mom's the word, we just don't talk about it around here?
Yeah, she didn't really seem to care about me going in there in the woods by myself. I don't know if I told her every time that I would go, though. I can't remember. Right. But, yeah. I did stop going, though. One time, I was wood knocking, and I kind of saw, like, one in the bushes, and it was, like, started, like, rattling, like, bushes and stuff, and, like, grunting. Like, it was kind of like, it seemed like it was mad. I was like, I think I'm going to leave. And when I was leaving, a pretty good-sized rock was thrown at me, and it barely missed my head.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore, because it might be kind of dangerous. And
you said there was an occasion where you and your brother would actually go out doing wood knocks, and there was a four knock occurrence, and you did get a response of 4 knocks back.
Yeah, we were just that was like some short time after I saw the first Bigfoot, and we were just out in our backyard banging on a tree over there, and for a long time we didn't hear anything, and then we heard like something big walking. Like, I'm not even sure how far away, but not very far. And we heard the biggest branch, like, crack, like it was broken off a tree. Like, no person would be able to just pull off a branch like that. And then we heard whomp, 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 like, really loud. And we're like, oh, okay, that's pretty crazy. And it did respond a few times or so. I can't remember how many times, but we would do stuff like that, yeah.
And once you guys did have more neighbors and houses around there, did you hear any of the neighbors talking about seeing these guys?
Not really. I'm sure that other people saw stuff, but they were too scared to talk about it. I would have like campouts with my friends on like summer nights, and a couple times we would hear like really heavy things walking around on 2 feet, and everybody would be freaked out, and I'd be like, those are Bigfoot out there, and they'd be like, no, it can't be that, but they would still, like, I think they had their doubts, like they just didn't want to admit that something like that.
Then the campouts are over, right? Once you admit it, I mean, then some people may not be okay sleeping outside anymore. Like little burritos, perfect little burritos wrapped in little tents, you know?
Yep.
Did you ever notice, and I know for a lot of this time you were younger, but did you notice any strange activity with, like, you know, Forest Service trucks or guys in outfits, you know, or they were taking reports from anybody? Did you ever notice anything like that?
No, I did not. But I did read a report, and I tried to find it too to send you a link, but I couldn't find it. There's a report of a police officer that was in the Suquamish tree farm and saw Bigfoot in there. But yeah, I never really saw any officials walking around or anything like that. No.
Yeah, and I will, I'll jump into that report, the one that sounds just like yours as far as what the Bigfoot did. But I will also link the report that you sent me of the forestry manager. I've never quite heard one like this. Everybody, this one is so cool because this freaking guy runs into a Sasquatch, and then he looks over, and then there's a mama bear, and then he realizes he's in between the mama bear and her cub, and I'm going, this guy's striking gold
Bad
like
luck.
3 times. He better run. And it's funny because the report mentioned that. They're like, yeah, he said he was done for the day at that point, you know. But, I mean, of all the things to run into at the same time.
Yeah, and that, I think, happened up in Kingston, right? So it was, all those places are pretty close.
Yeah.
And I've known people that have seen things in that area, or not things, I've seen Bigfoot in that area. And I was just going to say something. What was I going to say? You were talking about a report. That left my mind, sorry.
That's okay. I do it all the time. If it comes back to you, just interrupt me. What about local reports from the native tribe there?
What was that?
I mean, the natives there, the local tribe there. I mean, of course, they don't always like to talk about things outside of, but and you won't find their stuff on bfro.net either. But have you ever come across any reports from those guys? I mean, they're the ones that definitely know for sure that they're out there and believe in them. So,
yeah. Well, I haven't found any reports online, I don't think, but I remember one time when I was in elementary school, there's a lot of natives, obviously, that were in my class, and one of the boys was talking about how his grandmother saw one crossing the street there in Suquamish. So that was kind of crazy. But I know, have you ever heard of Blake Island?
Yes.
I think that's what it's called. I went there once, and they're doing like native dances and stuff, and they started talking about Sasquatches. Like that was one of their legends, and they even had somebody that was dressed up like a Bigfoot. So I know it is part of their belief system. That's
cool. I love that.
Yeah.
They just know. They're like, yeah, they're out there. We respect them. They respect us. Yeah, especially for you. You're like, yep, they are certainly out there.
Yeah.
Trying the front door, though, not cool. Not cool at all. What about other sign around your house? Did you ever find footprints or hair or any odd tree structures?
Yeah, we would, I would find footprints quite a bit, but I only found one that was really, really good. And I went to get my, okay, I better tell you where it was. It was right, it was like on this trail that was connecting the wood line to our yard. And it was like leaving our yard, and it was in the dirt. It was like pristine, perfect, awesome footprint. And I ran to get my mom. She saw it, and she was going to go and get, because my dad he would bring home stuff from the hospital, and he had stuff to be able to make a cast. So she was going to make a cast, and I was waiting for my mom, and I guess my dog got out. And I didn't see her running up until it was too late, and she started sniffing that footprint, and she ruined it. And I was like, oh my gosh, no.
How big was it?
I can't remember the exact size, but it was definitely bigger than a regular size foot. Like, it was really long and wide.
That darn dog.
I know, it was like, darn it. Like, if I would have seen her, like, before, because I had my back turned looking at the print, if I had seen her running up, I would have been able to grab her in time. But,
they were so busy around there. It makes you wonder if some of the times that you just saw the bushes shaking or whatever, if that means there was a young one around and they were trying to scare you off.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. That's true. That could be. I never thought about that. Because that was the only time that one got violent with me.
Yeah, that one was not happy that you were around. It acted so differently than the other ones.
Well, I have another one that's kind of funny.
Oh, please
I was sleeping, and my brother woke me up in the middle of the night, and he was saying that there was, I can't remember, there was like 3 or 4 in the neighbor's yard of them out there. And I thought that he was like high or something like that. But I got up anyways, and there was a little group of them out there. And they're out there for a while, just congregating in the moonlight. I don't know why. And the neighbor's dog, I guess, got out of their yard or something, and it started sniffing around and started coming towards where that group of Bigfoot was. And they started throwing rocks at the dog. And the dog finally got the hit and ran off, but... I guess not that funny, but I think it's kind of funny how they... No,
I'm just stunned at the visual, because, seeing 3 or 4 of them. So before the dog came up and they started throwing rocks, what were they doing? Were they standing close to each other?
They were squatting, like, in a... kind of like a half circle kind of thing. Like, it seemed like they were, like, talking to each other, but I don't know. I didn't have the window open. I couldn't, like, hear anything. But, like, they were doing something out there.
The old Sans campfire stories.
Yeah, family get together out there.
Yeah. Get the old baked beans out and have a little chat.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then they were tossing rocks at the dog, and the dog
they
takes
started
off.
throwing rocks at the dog.
And then they left.
And I couldn't really see that well anymore because the dog made the motion sensor when the neighbor's house go on.
Those damn dogs.
Really see anymore.
Every time.
Yeah. But I did see the rocks going towards the dog. So.
Oh, that's interesting. I like that one. Yeah. Very interesting. Squatting in a half circle.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Just little family get together. I don't know.
Did you go out there the next day to see if there was any evidence of what the heck they were doing out there?
I wanted to, but the yard that they were in, that neighbor wasn't really that nice.
Ah, gotcha.
They didn't want to.
Yeah.
Didn't really want to go over there.
You like life and limb to be attached.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Very interesting. Oh, I like that one. I don't think I've ever heard anything like that before. Very interesting.
Yeah. And that's the only time I've ever seen more than one together, because the other times it's always just one, well, that I know of.
And all of them were quite large, you'd say?
Yeah, they seemed pretty big, yeah. But they were squatting.
I know it was on just moonlight, but was there any, like, oh, there's a gray one, or were they all about the same color?
No, I wouldn't be able to tell the color, because we had the lights off to be able to see them. It was really dark, and we just had the moonlight, and it was just dark fur, I guess.
That is a heck of a visual. I really like that one. Thank you for sharing that. Well, any other sightings of these guys around there for you?
Yeah. Probably a couple more. I know there was one time that my brother really wanted to sleep out in a tent in the backyard, and I was like, I don't think I want to do this. But he kept pressuring me to do it, and that night that we were going to go out there, I went by myself to put something in the tent, like a sleeping bag or something like that. And I thought I'd probably be fine because across the street in the neighbor's yard, there's a whole bunch of people like making noise and stuff. But no, it didn't matter. Anyways, I was walking towards the tent, and I saw like these two big eyes. And I was like, what is looking at me? And once my eyes focused more, I could see like the outline of, shape of like a humanoid there. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I ran back. I was trying to convince my brother not to go out there because I did not want to deal with that. But I went out there anyways because he was like getting mad if I didn't go out there because he didn't want to be by himself. Not long being out there, we started hearing like really heavy footsteps, and I'm not sure how many, but it sounded like more than one, like walking around the tent. But I don't know how many was out there.
What did your brother say about that?
I don't know. Well, we were both freaking out, and I was so scared. I didn't want to run out because I didn't like want to run into one or something. Like, oh no. So I was so scared to force myself to fall asleep because it was that or be awake and panicking. Luckily they didn't do anything.
How far was the set of eyes away from you when you saw him, you think?
How far was the set of eyes when I was...
Yeah, when you saw those eyes before you guys did your little camp out.
It was right on the tree line. Oh, probably just a few feet.
Okay, wow.
From the tree line, yeah.
They're
and I was
brazen
halfway
there.
Yeah, it's not that big of an area, so they probably don't really have that many places to go. But hearing that they could swim, that definitely broadens their territory. But
do you think that area is still active to this day?
Well, I've seen reports on the BFRO website, but I'm not really sure. Once I went Sasquatch squatching with my husband there, but I didn't find anything. I didn't hear anything. But I'm assuming there probably is because the woods are still the same.
Right.
They haven't lost any habitat or anything like that. And if anything, we were there just a couple weeks ago, and everything looks overgrown and stuff like that. So I would think that there's probably still stuff going on. But
well, maybe you sharing your stories will get somebody else that may listen to this to come forward and say, "Yep, we still have some activity out here."
Yeah, that would be interesting to know.
Yeah, because goodness sakes, they're really active out there.
Yeah, and I also wonder too, because I was young, they probably knew that our house or by our house wasn't that. They probably didn't feel threatened because I was young, and I don't know.
Do you think also they seem to watch. They do like to watch people. Do you think they realized that it was just you and your mom and your brother and no father there? And maybe that's also why they felt comfortable?
For a while, my dad was there, but until it was I think my parents got divorced when I was 11 or 12. But for the majority of the time, I guess he wasn't around. But he would work a lot too, so I don't know.
Yeah, right.
It could be he wasn't home very often, so I don't know. But yeah, I do think it's kind of weird that I see so many, but I swear it's true.
Well, you live in
I
the
don't know.
perfect area for it. There's
Yeah.
a ton of reports around there. And honest to God, just like we said in the beginning, if I was a Sasquatch, that is where I would want to be.
Yeah, there's a lot of food.
Yep.
They have the water, and there's also a pretty big stream at the some ways down from the bottom of the hill and the tree farm there. They have a really good water source.
Yes.
Plants. I think that they probably eat plants too. I feel like the one that was watching my mom and I blackberry picking, I feel like it was, because it looked kind of upset, like watching us, like it was moving, like trying to get a good look. I don't know how to explain it, but it looked like it was upset that we were picking those blackberries. And I've heard stuff going on in those blackberries before. Like I feel like they eat blackberries.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, they are quite delicious, so if we like them, I would assume they would too. And I'm assuming the very bush that he was standing in and then disappeared out of was probably a blackberry bush, right? I mean, that whole area, that's what you guys were there for.
No,
So.
I think it was a Scottish broom bush.
Oh, one of those thorny things.
No, they don't have thorns on them. They came from Europe, like the settlers. They're just like grew like wildfire over there. Like there's a lot of it. They don't have any thorns. They have like a yellow flowers and
taking that hairy man's food. The blackberries, getting the dirty looks.
And I also saw one kind of by those blackberry bushes once too.
Oh, do tell.
I was at my friend's house. And it was starting to get late. And I think I was like waiting because I was going to go home with my friend that lived up the street. But something happened and I had to end up going home by myself and it was really dark. So I was freaked out that I was going to see something. And sure enough, there was one at the end of the cul-de-sac, like by those blackberry bushes.
Another big
and that one, I do feel like it was a female.
Oh, yeah?
For some reason. But I didn't really see anything because I was just, like, I was running, trying to get away as fast as I could. But
so why do you say that, though? Her build was different?
The shape, like, they had, like, her build seemed more feminine. Right. I don't know. Like, not really curvy, but...
Right.
Kind of, like,
yeah.
I don't know.
No, I understand. Yeah.
Robust as the other ones.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Did you get a glimpse at her face at all? It seems like that was further away, but.
Yeah, quickly, but. Mainly, I just saw like her eyes, because like the moonlight was kind of like.
Yeah.
Bouncing off her eyes, kind of. But, yeah, I was just running away, like, trying not to really pay attention. I think that's pretty much all the times I've seen Bigfoot. But we did have other things happen, like, sometimes in the middle of the night we'd hear really loud screams. And once I did hear, like, a screech owl, and that was, like, it sounded different than those other screams.
And these are the long might not be a peals Bigfoot, of screams?
What's that?
These are the long peals of screams? Or are these more just
like really long.
Okay.
We would hear whoops, too. And the only reason why I thought those came from Bigfoot, because if I was, like, searching around in the woods, trying to, like, find footprints and stuff, like, a few times, I would hear something really big walking on 2 feet, and then I'd hear the whoops. So I'm pretty sure those came from Bigfoot, but I can't be positive that the loud screams were, but they really sound like some of the recordings that I've heard. Just really long, kind of thing. They've been really long, really loud.
And the whoops were specifically probably them saying, "Jennifer's back out here again."
Yeah, probably.
She's back again.
I never thought about that. Like, there's a human in the vicinity.
You have your own whoop.
Yeah. That could be. Yeah.
Well, let me read this report that you sent me really quickly. And this is from packwestbigfoot.com. It was posted February 7th, 2017, and this is Kitsap County, Washington. And I'll just kind of warn everybody, it's just, the vernacular's a little, it's not too odd, but it's just a little strange. I'm going to read it verbatim. So.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say that one time.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
One time the BFRO went to a library in Port Orchard, and they played that 911 call that they use on Sasquatch Chronicles.
Right.
And they said that came from Kingston. That's why I was thinking of it. I guess it was the Kingston report.
Yeah.
They said that it came from Kingston, and that's the next town over.
Right.
From Suquamish.
Incredible call, by the way, of course.
Yeah.
One of
Creepy.
the best. That'll get you. You don't want to be listening to that in your tent in the middle of the night in the woods. Human burrito.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So This report says we have a German Shepherd and our yard is completely fenced in. Our dogs let us know when anything comes in the yard and she will bite them. Great neighbor, by the way. Good dog. We live next to an abandoned house since we moved into ours in 2004. Our neighbor has many outdoor cats that are not well cared for and often starving. My wife loves animals, so I put a container of cat food on the fence at night. This goes on for many months. We live in a wooded area even though we are close to town. Our house backs up to about 40 acres of undeveloped private property, mostly surrounded by houses with a large creek nearby. One early morning in summer, when it was getting light outside, approximately 5 a.m., my bathroom window faces the abandoned house where I put the cat food. I got up to go to the bathroom, looked out the window, and saw something that looked like a man with monkey fur. He was standing next to the 6-foot fence in the neighbor's yard, staring in my direction. He had long white flowing hair off his face, with a circle of hair lining his face, but none on his face. This was kind of an undercoat, turning to the color of a deer on the outside. He was staring right at me. He stood completely still, like I wouldn't notice him. And there is that report's oh shit moment. So that's why, I know that's why you sent it to me, but I picked up on that right away. I'm like, oh, that's just like Jennifer's. Interesting.
Yeah.
And also, you'll notice in a moment, everybody, this also mentions blackberry bushes. So later, I went out to where he was and noticed the wooden fence was bent over. I just couldn't believe what I saw, so I tried to forget about it. 4 or 5 months later, my wife and I were awoken at 4 a.m. to screams. They were constant, non-stop screams. After about 15 minutes, we started recording. We have over 50 screams on audio. We were standing outside. The dog was scared and wanted back in the house. It was after this I told my wife about the sighting. She is skeptical, but I know what I saw. Within a few days after this, I went over the fence into the private property, naughty, to investigate further. After making it through thick blackberry bushes, I began finding several large nests along with twisted branches. 3 to 4 foot tunnels through the berry bushes. I don't feel like I should be out there as it is private property. Even though we already went out there, but that's okay. It happens. I still put food out, mostly cat food and table scraps, sometimes quite a bit of food. It has always eaten. If I miss a night, we will hear scary screaming. I don't know if this is a Sasquatch or not, but when I saw it, it looked as scared as any wild animal would have. Let me know what you think. Thanks, William. So, so William definitely hit on that point to where he's like, I can definitely see you even though you're standing so still. But I guess they have oh shit moments just like we do, so.
Yeah. And listening to the tunnel thing in the blackberry bushes, I found tunnels before in blackberry bushes.
Really?
Yes.
How big around? I mean, if you're a kid, can you just dart right through that thing? Or, is it pretty big?
Like, I'd have to kind of bend over, but,
still pretty
I think a Sasquatch would have to be on the hands and knees, the ones that I found. But that's interesting. Yeah.
Can you
I wonder if they make
imagine
them then.
going out to one of those at night? Like, what would it take? What's the amount of money someone would have to hand you to crawl down one of those tunnels at night and see what's at the end, right?
Gosh.
I don't think there is an amount of money. I don't think there is for me.
No, because they probably wouldn't think that well.
No, because, your
I know
mental
that they
health
do.
is an important
Yeah,
thing,
that's true.
right? And, I don't know. You don't want to,
Yeah.
no, maybe that's not a good idea to think that
I
way.
wish,
but-
yeah. I wish that report said, like, what part of that county it was in.
Yeah, it sure doesn't. I could,
I wonder if it was, like, where I live, like, could be.
I could get a hold of, oh my gosh, his name just fell out of my head. Is it David? He runs that website. I could attempt to get a hold of him. He may not know, because sometimes, that's the report is just exactly as you read it as far as his information. He may not even know the gentleman's last name, but I could attempt to just, to see.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I mean, who knows? It
That'd be-
may have
I wonder
been
if it was, like,
somebody
the
right
same
behind
one.
your house.
That
Yeah.
same one that would go by my house, yeah.
It could be the
That'd be
exact
really
same
interesting to
neighborhood.
find out.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
I'll do that for you. I'll at least drop a line to him. And
Thank
David,
you.
that is his name, David, for sure. And
Uh-huh.
I'll drop a line and see what I can find out for you.
Uh-huh. Wow. That'd be awesome. Very interesting.
So what about you? I mean, do you still go out Bigfooting, and do you want to see them some more?
Yes, I do. I can't really go out that much because of my kids, but when we go hiking, I kind of look for footprints. I haven't really found anything, but I think they're scary, but for some reason, I want to keep seeing them. I don't know, like, they're fascinating to me. Like I said, they scare the crap out of me, but they're really fascinating.
See, but you haven't really had a bad experience, right? So
Just that one time when the one threw that rock at me.
right, that was close.
But yeah, other
close
than that,
enough. But yeah,
yeah. Other than that, they seem pretty peaceful. Like they just rather not have anything to do with us, kind of thing. Except for when they're looking in your window and they, whatever.
I think he just wanted to come in and play Sega Genesis or Nintendo or whatever you were playing.
I think it was a 64.
Yeah.
I was excited because we got the James Bond. So I was playing that like until like from sunset till dawn or whatever. I love that game.
That's all he wanted. He's like, hey, they got a 64 in there. He's like, I have thumbs. I can play it.
That would be interesting if they had one like in captivity and see how intelligent they are. If they could play video games, if they could do pretty much anything a person can do.
If we had,
I think that they seem really smart, but
I think if we had the perfect setup for one and human beings that were not cruel or in any way, shape, or form, I think it would just break my heart to see one in captivity. Although, I don't know how else we would learn anything about them. I mean, besides bringing in a dead one. But yeah, it would be fascinating, absolutely. But even those freaking gorillas. Every time I went to the Cleveland Zoo, this massive silverback would always be sitting in the corner, facing the wall, over by where the human beings would come in, to feed him or whatever. And he never moved from that spot. And I would, each visit to the zoo, I'd swing back around to see him, and he never budged. And you're just going, that's no life. That's
true.
He would probably
same with at the I think it's the Tacoma Point Defiance Zoo that there's gorillas, and they always seem just like they're mowing around. It's really sad.
It is.
Yeah. So on one hand, it would be cool to find more about them, but on the other hand, I hope that they don't get found too.
I know. I feel the same way.
But they also need their habitat to be protected. But I don't know.
Yeah, one of them would have to take a pretty hard hit if it was captured alive. That thing would.
Yeah.
That thing would have the worst life, but.
Yeah.
It would be incredible to learn exactly what they can do. Although they're so smart that they'd probably go, you know what, screw you guys. I'm not going to show you, jack of what I can do. Because I know that's what you want me to do. So screw you guys.
Yeah.
They probably would.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, any final thoughts on just Bigfoot in general or anything that you want to say or wrap up with?
I can't really think of anything. Thank you.
Of course, yeah, no.
And I'll talking to you about it.
No, I
definitely
really appreciate
less
that.
depressing than demons and
yes, yes. Yeah, and everybody, I will link Jennifer's first visit. We had a very different conversation that first time. I will link that in the show notes. But I will let you know if David gets back to me on that report from Kitsap County.
Awesome.
Seeing them
out. It'll be really interesting if you can find out.
Seeing that guy out the bathroom window doing the statue move. Like, I see you. You're not so tricksy. Yeah. So, well, Jennifer, thank you so very much. I will let you get back to your family. And I really appreciate your time for the second time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for talking to me. Take care.
Well, I'm so-and-so. I was given this name by my parents. I've been to such and such a college. I've done these things in my profession. I produce a little biography. Buddha says, forget it. That's not true. That's some story. That's all gone. That's all past. I want to see the real you are now. Well, nobody knows who that is. Because we don't know ourselves except through listening to our echoes and consulting our memories. But then there's a real you, and that again leads us back to this question. Who are you? That is the real you. We shall see how they play with this exam by the koans to get you to come out of your shell and find out who you really are. First there is summer, and then there is spring. When you settle down in the train to read your newspaper and so on, you are not the same person who a little while ago left the platform. If you think you are linking your moments up in a chain. And this is what binds you to the wheel of birth and death. But when you know that every moment in which you are is the only moment, this comes into Zen. A master will say to somebody, get up and walk across the room. And he comes back and he says, where are your footprints? They've gone. So where are you? Who are you? When we are asked who we are, we usually give a kind of recitation of a history.